Congratulations to the New York Liberty, the 2025 WNBA World Champions. Yes, I am calling it now. The Liberty are going to be the WNBA champions as the two best teams, the Liberty and the Aces, have played, and it was clear that the Liberty are the best team in the WNBA because in the last game, Game 4, they played against 8, it seemed like, as they did not get a very nice whistle, as it seemed like the Aces were allowed to maul their guards whenever they wanted to, but the refs had Phoebish and Jones in their sights, and any sort of touch foul was going to be called harshly on their bigs. But ultimately, it did not matter as New York went into the fourth quarter with a 2-point lead, and Phoebish and Jones were only on 4 fouls apiece, and essentially that was enough. Congratulations to the national broadcast. They finally pointed out the awful, catastrophic Marina Mabrey trade and how New York, this championship was essentially built on getting Phoebish and a swap draft pick.
Jonathan Kolb, their GM, had wanted her for a while, made a great trade where he got her as well as a pick swap from Phoenix, and Phoebish has proven to be the difference for New York thus far in this series from a year ago.
Unbelievable. Really, Greg Bibb, James Wade, and Jim Pittman, all of you should be getting championship rings as well, as that trade just totally set up the New York Liberty. Now at the beginning, this trade looked like a nightmare for Phoenix just due to the swap rights, but the real disaster of this trade was Chicago giving up Phoebish, and that was on full display in Game 4 because it was essentially Phoebish get in foul trouble, go off the court, and the Aces catch up. Phoebish get back in the game. New York crush the Aces. And in the fourth quarter, Phoebish is able to play the entire fourth quarter, and the Liberty crush the Aces once and for all. And her dominance was outlined by her plus-minus, which was the best of anybody at plus 28. Jones was second with plus 20, which was not surprising. As on defense, the Liberty had the ability to switch 1 through 5 and just play them very tough. But as well, when they were on offense, they made Becky Hammon have to choose between two really bad options. If she switched the screens, then the Aces would pick on Alicia Clark or Kelsey Plum, as they always seem to get them in switches. If they did not switch the screen, then they would give Ionescu enough space and she crushed them from the three-point line. Not only that, but Breanna Stewart, being so versatile and being able to bring up the ball, just took the pressure off Sabrina Ionescu, so she didn't have to worry about getting the ball over the court, as Clark was unwilling to challenge her when she was bringing the ball up the court. Now, last year in the finals, the Aces won by their backcourt dominating the Liberty backcourt, and this only happened in Game 3, but overall, the New York size just put too much pressure on the Aces. And Becky Hammon can say they weren't as sharp as they were in the previous years in their defense, and they didn't switches, and that's fine. They probably weren't as sharp and as motivated and everything else. But ultimately, the Aces lost this championship when they lost Candace Parker, as it gave them a massive hole at the 4th spot. And last year, they were able to get away with it as their guards were so dominant. But this year, nah, they couldn't do it. So the champ is dethroned. Now they get to work out how they're going to get Kelsey Plum under the cap. Will they do some of that Aces magic that we all know about? To be determined in the offseason, but we now crown a new champion, the New York Liberty. And how dare I do that, as they haven't even played in the championship game yet. And yes, choose your cliche. That's why they play the game and everything else. But no, this is over, and I will tell you why. First of all, if the Sun make it through, we had this series last year, and we saw Thomas lose her mind as Stewie frustrated her as she could get nothing. And yes, Jones is back, so that gives the Sun more size, but ultimately the Joneses will cancel each other out. And once again in this series, I think Phoebish will be a key player, as she will give Bonner problems with her length. And usually it is the exact opposite. In the backcourt, I'm sure the Liberty are more than comfortable with Ionescu, Lainey Hamilton, and Vandersloot versus Carrington, Harris, and Mabrey. And yes, the Sun might ugly ball themselves away with one victory, but there's no way they're winning the series. And again, Lynx fans will be saying I'm disrespecting them for even suggesting that it won't be them in the finals. But they shouldn't worry about that, as both the Lynx and Sun seem to revel in the perceived disrespect of their teams. So here, more fuel to your fire. Although I will say, Courtney Williams, I don't know who you said picked the Lynx to finish 9th and out of the playoffs. It certainly wasn't me. I didn't know you'd be this good, but I definitely had the Lynx making the playoffs this season. But that being said, in this series, if y'all make it through, and I don't know if the Lynx will ultimately win the Game 5, as I can see a scenario where they are tight on their home court trying to close it out and it turning into just a brutally ugly game. And if it is a brutally ugly offensive game, advantage the Sun. But as well, I could easily envision Napheesa Collier doing her own Akeem Olajuwon impression and just crushing the Sun, as she is a nightmare for them. And at times when I watch them play, it gives me flashbacks to watching Akeem destroy David Robinson in the playoffs. But even if the Lynx make it through, even though they have Alana Smith who could match up with Phoebish, I just don't see them having enough. As once again, Stewie, Jones, and Phoebish is just too much. As well, Stewie should be able to match up much better versus Collier than Thomas can. And if Napheesa Collier is held in check by Stewie, that is just a big problem for the Lynx, as they really don't have much else that's constantly dependable. As well, I'm sure the Liberty are very comfortable with the backcourt situation of Ionescu going up against Courtney Williams, and Lainey Hamilton should hold up well against McBride. In addition, Vandersloot coming off the bench to match up versus Heidemann, I think that's a clear advantage to the New York Liberty. I did a video earlier in the season on the Lynx, and one of the things I asked was how good are they? And I thought they were really good, but I didn't know if they were great. And I thought one of the keys for them taking the next step of being great was the development of Diamond Miller, and she has just been buried on the bench ever since she came back from her knee injury. Got a little bit of time. I don't know if she's totally healthy or what has happened, or she just can't get off the bench because Carlson and Xander Lassini are so good. That's potentially the case. But I think her not being able to develop has really hurt the Lynx in this matchup, as they just need that little bit extra athleticism. It'd be so much nicer being able to bring her off the bench or playing her big minutes if she could play effectively. It will be interesting when the WNBA expansion draft comes up, as teams are allowed to protect 6 players on their roster, and one of the franchises with a tough choice to make will be the Lynx, as they'll obviously protect their starting 5, but then the next player, are they going to choose Xander Lassini or will it be Diamond Miller? Xander Lassini is good, like she's almost a carbon copy of Bridget Carlson, but I wonder if she will be left unprotected, as it's almost way too early to give up on Miller, and Miller provides a different type of player that they don't have on their roster, which is an athletic wing. But if you are a Lynx fan, at least you can be optimistic that your team is still on the build with a bona fide star in Napheesa Collier. So if you go down to the Sun in Game 5, which would be very traumatic, no doubt, I think it's something they could still recover from. With the Connecticut Sun, I don't know if this is the last roll of the dice with Thomas. They can core her if she wants, but what is going to change that would put this team over the top and allow them to win a championship if they are unable to do it this year? As no doubt she is a really, really good player, but can you be a great player if you cannot shoot from outside of the key? Anyway, now it's over to you. Who do you have winning between the Sun and Lynx in Game 5? In addition, do you, like me, feel like it's dead man walking and a fait accompli that the New York Liberty are the 2025 WNBA champions? Your comments and poison are welcome. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.